Yeah.
I know you built a successful company, scaled and sold in 5 years, and then you spent a portion of your career in M&A, kind of rolling up similar companies. What types of things make a company most appealing for acquisition?
Man, that's a great question. And I will tell you there are two or three things that I think, yeah, I can just speak in our industry, okay? Let me give you some data points here. The residential skilled trade, plumbing and air conditioning market potential or annual revenue is somewhere around $120 billion a year. Okay. And so some pretty interesting facts. 15% of those contractors are controlling about 60% of that 120 billion. The other 80 to 85% are doing things that the 15% are. Okay. And so, and I'm getting to your question, and that is that there's a huge equity roll up in my industry, but they're only interested in that 15%. Interesting enough, right now, the equity game, and none of them have 1% of the market share, right? It's still crazy fragmented, but of that 15%, that they own about 30% of it. And we could talk for another 2 hours about equity, and I know you don't want to do that. So, but to your point, let me just tell you what the things are that the 80% aren't doing that the 15 are. And I will tell you that the 15%, what they're doing are the things that you need to do to get your company in a best situation. Then I'll talk about what team I would put around you and some of the mistakes I made when I sold my company. So of that 80% are 1.5 million or less. The average is about 400,000 a year in revenue. So those contractors, we're going to talk about role pricing, inventory, time, compensation, and marketing. Okay. And this is what they're doing. We already talked about it. They're doing, they're not whoing. And I've heard say it's not my take, but think like an owl. Okay. Who, not do. Okay. The on pricing, they're usually charging for time and material, and their average gross margin is 35 to 45%. And their inventory, they're making a lot of trips to supply house. They're billing about 20 to 25%, or sorry, 20 to 25 hours of a 40-hour week. We can talk more about that one, dive into it. The other one is the time. It's open-ended schedules instead of using what is Parkinson's law. We can talk about that more. But if I give you two jobs, Eric, and your job's to work 8 hours a day, I know I'm speaking to a roofing guy here. How long do you think it's going to take you to do those two jobs?
8 hours.
Yeah. If I give you five and you've got to make your daughter's dance recital by 5:30 and you have 5 calls to do and you know it, how long is it going to take you to do those?
I'm gonna get it done in about 4.5.
Yeah. Or at least 8, right? We have to compress time. Those 80% contractors aren't doing that. And a lot of that's because they're still doing so much, they don't realize it and they're not managing their team as efficiently as they could. Compensation, I think we already know that. uh, I don't want to say the word clock milking, but that's really what's going on there.
Yeah.
And so marketing is word of mouth reliance. So let's talk about what those 15% companies are doing that are controlling 60% of the total market share. They delegate leadership. They are on a flat rate platform that's somewhere between 50 and 55%. There are companies out there charging 60 and 70%. That would be the skin it once thing. You're shear it 3 times a year. You know, you can fool some of the people some of the time. They're just not going to call you back. I mean, I just know that from experience. They have a rolling warehouse on their trucks. Their trucks are stocked. It's a one-stop repair. They're time boxed, which means that, Eric, glad to be here. Love to talk about all those repairs. The problem I have here is that you have a stoppage in your home, and I'm here to take care of that. Let me go diagnose that. I've got 5 calls today. Okay. We can certainly take care of some of those things that aren't as pressing, but I want to get this taken care of. Now the customer's working with you within the time frame to fix the problem they asked you for.
Mhm.
It also mitigates their impression that you're there to upsell them all day long and camp out in their home. That's a strategy for some companies. That's not one for us. They're performance driven. They are getting paid either by the job or they're being paid and incentivized to be efficient on completed calls, maximizing, communicating, surveys with the customer, and then marketing. They're consistently spending somewhere between 8 and 12%. So, two more things. One is they have a consistent and an accurate ability to provide somebody with 3 years financials. I'm gonna put my accounting hat on now. That's balance sheet, P&L, not so much cash flow, but you need to be able to show that potential purchaser of your business, number 1, what's your growth rate? How confident am I on the accuracy of your financials? Because that's how they're going to value your business.
Mhm.
Here's the X factor. If you own the business and don't run the business, they're going to pay you more money for it because it runs without you have systems and processes in place. So that those last 5 or 6 things I just talked about. Now, the one thing that you didn't ask me is, well, how do you build a team? If you want to go sell a business, you will save the fee that you pay a business broker to negotiate on your behalf because guess what? The equity players do this every day and they've done it all their life and they're the sharpest people in the business environment. You're going to do it once. A business broker knows how to communicate on your behalf and represents your interest.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? So
I mean, yeah.
so that's the first one. A really good closing attorney, a really good CPA,